Aggie Chambray, political correspondent at LBC. Great to have your company, guys. Great picks today as well. We'll kick off, though, Aggie, with the Sun. And immigrant-only digital ID cards. Is that what's on the cards, what Labour are talking about at the moment, then?
Indeed. So, according to The Sun on Sunday, the government is working on plans to basically have these digital documents, but only for immigrants. This is something that they think could help to crack down on immigration, illegal immigration, and it also comes after The Sun revealed boat migrants are breaking the law by working as food delivery drivers. And a source told them digital ID cards are being looked at, but only for immigrants. It is very unlikely they'll be introduced for UK or Irish citizens. Now, that's interesting because this is something, digital ID cards for everything, that lots of people within the Labour Party think is an excellent idea. They think that would really help to crack down on small boats crossings. More than 40 Labour MPs actually have written to Number 10 backing the demand. And it was also really interesting listening to Sir Alex Younger, who's the former boss of MI5, talking about it this week, basically saying it's a bit of a no-brainer. Obviously, they should introduce digital ID cards. So interesting that they are looking at it from this point of view. They seem to be ruling it out there, but I do wonder whether we are just going to get to the stage where they do actually introduce digital ID cards for everyone. But there does seem to be this kind of worry about what happened in the new Labour government, where there was a big row over ID cards then, big backlash. And there seems to be a bit of sort of hesitancy because maybe that happened then, but it is a different time and lots of Labour MPs think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah,
digital ID doesn't really go down quite well with the public, with civil liberty groups too.
In particular, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just as a country, almost we're instinctively against anything like that. It's not something that we like to consider. But you know, Aggie's right. I remember David Blunkett. I mean, he was Home Secretary 25 years ago, maybe, talking about bringing him in when Tony Blair was Prime Minister, and there was a huge backlash at that time. But you know, maybe it's an idea.
Dipping their toe in the water.
Time has come, and you know, if they were to bring it, I mean, it would be hugely controversial just for immigrants as well. I think the connotations there, it's quite
But what it does
strange.
speak to, I don't know if you'll agree, is that the smashing the gangs, smashing the boats, it's multi-layered. It's not just an issue for France and those that cross the English Channel to come to Britain. It's global, and it requires such a joined-up effort, whether this one initiative is the key or whether it speaks to the electorate rather than actually tackling the problem.
Well, and also is only going to become more of an issue as the world heats up. People are going to want to move to countries which are less or more temperate climates, and it's just inevitable. It's going to go on now. And the idea that I think that Britain alone can fix it, or that we can cut ourselves off from the world. Yeah, we'll stop the boats and everything will be hunky-dory again. I just don't think that's realistic. But it'll be interesting if this does come in, which I think is a big if, and if it is successful, it's another big if, then I think that would give those in favour of it, we'll say, well, look, it's worked for immigrants, you might as well have it for everyone.
It's interesting, though, I haven't really heard that many people in government make the argument against it. Like, if you say, they say, we're not doing that, we're not in favour of that, and you say why, I haven't really heard, because obviously there are arguments against it, you've referenced them, you both referenced them, kind of civil liberty groups, worries about backlash from the public, but they're not making that coherent argument. So I do wonder whether there is a feeling that this may happen, and as Kevin says, maybe this is the first step and maybe we'll get to there in the second step. Just feel like if you listen to people and they're not making the argument against something, sometimes it means there's a reason for that.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? In this article, they're saying that more than 40 Labour MPs have written to Number 10 backing the demand. See where that goes. Can we move on to the Times now? This is a really interesting story about the US Ambassador Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, talking to J.D. Vance about the popularity of Reform UK and the conversation that both men have had. So it's a little nib at the bottom of the Sunday Times. This is interesting because he says at the end of the day, the election people will be choosing their future government, not having a fling, expressing a protest. isn't it, this little tale?
Peter Mandelson has such a way with words, doesn't he? So yeah, this is an interview that Katie Balls, the Washington editor, has done with Peter Mandelson, and there's a number of really interesting lines in it. But one of them, as you say, is Mandelson recalling this conversation, Lord Mandelson recalling a conversation with JD Vance where they were talking about Nigel Farage. And it said he believes Nigel Farage risks peaking too soon in his attempt to claim number 10. The other interesting things was, obviously, you will remember that Lord Mandelson was pretty critical of Donald Trump before he got that job.
Shadow government were, weren't they?
Yes, exactly. He referred to him as a danger to the world. So he had to, when he got this job as ambassador, he went on Fox News and basically was like, sorry, that was wrong, I shouldn't have said that.
But it's so interesting because so many of the politicians who did speak out against Donald Trump, when they changed their tone and were very complimentary to him, he kind of forgets what they said. And he kind of takes them on their word, whereas I would hold a grudge if someone said I was a danger to the world, and I wouldn't forget it.
No, neither. Absolutely not. I've got a list at home of everyone that's ever said anything mean about me.
Serious criticism, really, isn't it? I mean, it's probably the worst it can possibly be.
Him, it feels like if you throw enough flattery his way, he's happy to let that grudge go, he's happy to let the words float away, and he'll accept you currently.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the worry is that sometimes the MAGA base will remember. And so in this article, Lord Mandelson saying that there was this worry that the MAGA base basically hadn't forgotten about the danger to the world comment. But then when they were both standing in the Oval Office, Donald Trump, he walked in and Donald Trump said, handsome man.
Yes.
And he said that was a really brilliant moment because it just basically showed the MAGA base, we're all friends here, this is great, we have this good relationship. So that was really interesting. And then the third thing from this interview I thought was interesting was, this has been reported, but it hasn't been confirmed. So basically, I think this is confirmation that Donald Trump's state visit will be when Parliament... And the implication seems to be as well that would be because there's this petition, there's lots of Labour MPs who would be quite concerned were he to come to Parliament, speak in Westminster Hall, as we saw President Macron doing this week. So really interesting that Lord Mandelson confirms that he will be coming when Parliament is not sitting.
Yeah, he won't like that.
No,
Trump,
that would be something.
I've been twice here, I've had state visits and not been able, or allowed really, to address Parliament, unlike Barack Obama, who he hates, that's going to annoy him. Zelensky, who he doesn't like, he's addressed Parliament as well. Yeah. And Macron, obviously, this week as well.
He's keeping a scorecard.
He's not going to like that one little bit.
Really love that story. Let's move on now to the Mail on Sunday, and Midger coming out saying that basically, because we're all on our phones, Live Aid wouldn't ever happen in the future.
Yeah, I think he's got a point there, actually. So last night, because of the 40th anniversary, they replayed the whole concert from 40 years ago, and it was really noticeable that obviously there was no smartphones because they didn't exist then, and people were just there watching it with their own eyes. It was just like, and yesterday as well, I'd seen online footage from Oasis at Heaton Park the other night, and the amount of people when they came out, they're watching it through their phones.
I know,
I mean,
but you know,
I've done it as well. I've done it as well, so I'm not going to criticise folk for doing that. But in a way, it's a shame, isn't it? It's like you're not kind of living in the moment. Whereas, yeah, okay, back then they couldn't record it to go back and watch it again or whatever. But as we were just discussing off air, how often do you actually do that? You film it and then it's on your phone and you never look at it again.
I don't believe anyone has ever watched back a video that they filmed at a gig. And it ruins it. Who are you doing it for?
Well, I will be really honest with you guys in the breakfast audience. When I last went to a gig, I knew exactly what I was doing. It was Brad Keller, it was at Royal Albert Hall, and I recorded it simply to put it on my Instagram. I've got the album. I can stream the album whenever I want. Yeah. But it's to sort of say, look, I'm cool. I might have 2 kids, but I go to gigs
Everyone
and I have a social life.
Don't worry. You don't have to worry about that.
I understand what Midge is saying, actually. I agree. But I think, you know, there could be a push for something like Band Aid, Live Aid. Yeah. I definitely think there's an appetite.
No, I think so. But the other thing as well is back then, which is different from now, there were more bands. There just were more big bands. You know, you had, it was in Philadelphia as well, so you had U2. So last night they went from U2 and then they switched straight over to Philadelphia and it was Simple Minds playing there. And it was just like, wow. You know, you had Queen, obviously, famously.
Yeah,
David
I guess
Bowie.
big, iconic music stars,
You just don't
big
really
bands. I
get
get
that
what you're
anymore, which
saying.
again I think is partly to do with the internet and streaming, and you just don't get, or even Oasis, you don't get bands like that anymore.
There's a call, for Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie XCX. I mean,
Yeah, no, you could easily put on a big gig like that if you
I
wanted
reckon,
to.
and a younger bass, maybe even. I don't know. I'm mixed on this one. I'm not sure.
But could you not just give everyone a bag that you seal
You
with
do
a
that
lock,
at certain-
and then no one's allowed on their
Yeah.
phones
Yeah,
during a gig?
I think some
Yeah,
artists do that. There's
they
Bob Dylan. I
do.
think Bob Dylan. You're
I've
not
had
allowed
that.
to film at Bob Dylan. I think you take your phone off you.
Yeah.
Which is quite. I guess it relieves you from looking at your phone because it feels like it's a natural habit to pick it up and look. I've
Yeah.
looked at this a million times during the show. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. Let's move on then. This is another brilliant one. I love anything royal. It's the front page of the Mail on Sunday, and apparently, according to Charlotte Griffiths, the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, she's saying that King Charles and Prince Harry's senior aides, they've had these summits, have they, to what? To try and mend bridges, to bring them back into the fold?
Potentially. I mean, this could be, they say, the start of communication
peace
between
summit, they're
the two.
calling it.
A peace summit, a potential detente. So their senior aides both they held this secret, as it's called, secret peace summit, which unfortunately for them is now on the
It's
front page
everywhere.
of the Mail on
Not
Sunday
very
with
secret,
photos.
yeah. There's photos and everything, yeah.
But they say it's the initial step in a rapprochement process to restore the broken relationship. It's not clear which side called for the meeting.
Interesting.
But we do know that Prince Harry said in May that he would love a reconciliation. But
And
the
he
King
did that on
won't speak
tape,
to
didn't
him.
he? He was quite outspoken about that.
Exactly.
At least. And will we hear more details? Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it was quite a big gesture by the King, actually, because in that interview, which was only a few weeks ago, I mean, Harry was pretty, punchy, criticising his dad really over the security, removing their security.
Yeah.
So he says basically, well, we can't visit, my family and me can't visit Britain anymore because we don't get security. That's basically on my dad. He could stop it if he wanted to. Obviously, the palace completely denies that. And I think I can understand from Charles's point of view, so Charles should call him the King, really. From the King's point of view, it's his son, he's not getting any younger, he wants to obviously have a rapprochement, but I wonder whether Prince William would be quite so keen to get back in with Harry, because the two, it seems pretty able there, I think.
If for just a moment you just remove the fact that they're the royal family, just for a moment, it's a family that, polar ends, breaking down communications, infighting. It's just really sad.
It is sad.
And you do wonder, I wonder too much about this type of story, Princess Diana and what she would have thought, particularly of her two sons, who she loved so much, falling out like this, and what she might have been able to do to bash heads together and say, come on, lads, let's just get on. Yeah. And whether the role of a mum in that situation is what's needed. And, obviously, perhaps, God rest her soul.
Yeah, it is, because obviously they've been through an awful lot, the two of them, losing their mother so young, and, the parents obviously divorcing and all that stuff. And now this as well, they've been through an awful lot.
I know, and there's been a real resurgence of sharing reels of Princess Diana on social media about how she is the
15.
original influencer.
My daughter's 15, obviously was not around when Princess Diana died, and she's like an icon. She loves Princess Diana.
And she's very iconic in terms of her fashion.
Yeah.
So if you look back at... God, we're digressing now.
Sorry.
If you look back at her fashion and how chic she was, it's sort of timeless, really.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big fan. All right, Kevin, let's move on. This is the Sun. It's paddling pools. What am I doing wrong? Because I have one in the garden for the kids right now. Am I in trouble?
Shame on you for filling up a paddling pool, which we've done as well, so shame on me too. But whinging water bosses, according to the Sun on Sunday, have complained to the government, basically saying you've got to tell people, because we're in the middle of this heat wave, there isn't enough water, basically. They've got to stop wasting water by filling up paddling pools. But try telling that to your kids as well, I mean, I talk about killjoys, really.
So what was it yesterday? 31 degrees, 33 degrees?
I think in London it was,
In the south
It's hotter than Barbados, it says here.
So look, I make sure if I fill up the paddling pool, it's there for a couple of days. I just drop a Milton tablet in it just to keep it clean. And then cover it with a big sheet.
Yeah.
a bed sheet, so it's, you know, they can use it. I know, that's the only area of my life I am organised.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, so you can just use it for a few days. And that's the thing, you know, it's a bit of a killjoy. We're all spending so much money on our bills, day to day, everyday life. There's a little bit of joy, a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah.
That's a no from me on that story, I'm afraid.
No, definitely. I know they're also talking about bringing in surge pricing for where demand is higher.
Oh, God,
they're
but
going to put the
family
prices
of
up.
4, that's going to go through the roof, isn't it?
No,
I'll have to do a few more shifts here. It's Chinese to cover it, I think.
And as we know, the water bosses aren't popular anyway because of sewage in the water. And
that's another
So it's another
story.
one for the government to try and get to grips with.
I wanted to end on, Kevin, it's in, the Telegraph, and it's all about the British Bulldog on banknotes, because the Bank of England, they're opening up, haven't they, the opportunity. Is it the public can decide who might be who might be on the front of banknotes?
They're putting new faces on the banknotes, and they're asking the public to come up with ideas of British, iconic British
So David Attenborough,
images.
I throw him in the hat there.
Yeah. Anyway, bulldogs apparently has been suggested. There's obviously British bulldogs, Winston Churchill and all that stuff. Anyway, the people for the ethical treatment of PETA have said, no, this is a complete no-no, because these poor dogs are inherently unwell Franken dogs, is how they describe it, because they are bred in such a way to have these short, stubby noses.
Yeah.
And if you hear them wheezing, they're obviously suffering, really, because they can't get enough air into their lungs, and they think that by putting them on banknotes, and that just sort of encourages this whole image to have them bred in such a way which isn't good for them. So they say no, thank you.
Kevin, thank you. Aggie, thank you too. Pleasure. We'll have more from you another weekend. We don't have you next hour. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Let's take a look at today's weather.